Bitcoin. It can't be reasoned with, it can't be bargained with, and it absolutely, positively will not stop. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a digital asset. Bitcoin is a digital currency. But in my opinion, Bitcoin is no different than the money that we use. Of course, it has some limitations, but it's a medium of exchange, it's a store of value, and the validity of a medium of exchange and store of value has to do with how ubiquitous it is, how much it is widely adopted. We can say that worldwide, Bitcoin is becoming widely adopted, and therefore that holds up the validity of Bitcoin as a currency. I think the difficulty in a lot of people understanding what Bitcoin is has to do with the fact that Bitcoin has no physical representation. The dollar, by comparison, has the bill. The US dollar's value is perceived, and also Bitcoin's value is perceived. So there's no difference there. Again, the only difference I can see is that there's a physical representation of the US dollar. And with Bitcoin, it's all virtual. There is no physical representation of Bitcoin. And so that makes it a lot more difficult for people to understand it. You can't go to an ATM and put a card in and get a physical representation of those numbers on the screen that represent how much of the particular currency that you have. And so that makes it confusing for a lot of people. But ultimately, a currency is a currency. But one thing that definitely makes a difference, the currency that we use in this country, the United States, is what is called a centralized currency, because only one centralized bank called the Federal Reserve is allowed to create that currency. They're the only ones allowed to do it. Nobody else is allowed to create US currency. Try to create US currency and you will see what kind of problems you will get into. The Federal Reserve regulates the currency. They print the money. The government backs the Federal Reserve. That is why it's called centralized, because there's only one central bank that creates it. Whereas Bitcoin is what's called decentralized. There's no central government or central bank. It is a universal currency. The value of it is the same wherever you go around the world. Anyone with the means and the resources can create it. That's a very simple explanation, but I hope that it opens up questions that will make one more curious and interested to find out more about Bitcoin.